Hello, everybody. This is Stephen Howson. Get the comments about my hair in now because we're not going to be looking at them later. I am joined by Adam, I am joined by John, and I am joined by Statman Daddy. And we're here to preview the FA Cup quarter-final against Brighton. We're one game from Wembley, lads. But before we talk about the FA Cup and all the gloriousness that the FA Cup can bring, we've got some issues that we need to address. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about Jose Mourinho. I'm talking about Fellaini. And I'm going to come to you first. Adam, talk to me about what we saw. And I blame Mourinho in my post-match video. What about yourself? Where'd you put the blame on Tuesday night to?
You can't come to me with such a serious question with your head like that. But straight face. Mourinho is to blame for that on Saturday. On the see, I don't even know what day it was, man. That's how messed up it's made me. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. But I think it came down to the team selection. But having said that, on the day, I firmly placed the blame at Jose Mourinho's door. And whilst I still feel like it is his fault, because he picks the team, he picks the way we play, and I'm not on about that usual United way stuff. I can't stand that kind of argument, but the way we approached the game at home in a 0-0 European tie on aggregate didn't make sense. And despite thinking all of those things, I still felt we had enough on the pitch. And the players disappeared. The players didn't perform. And whilst I feel that was down to selection, the midfield was almost anonymous. Sevilla must have thought, what is going on here? We've got the freedom of the park. Because I felt like Matic was doing all these doggies and Fellaini was, it feels like it's the go-to thing. Let's criticise Marouane Fellaini. It's not. I praise him when he does well. I criticise him when he underperforms. He came on against Liverpool and did okay. What?
Shut up, Adam. I was talking to Chris.
Oh, sorry.
Right, forget that. Anyway, yes, we're going to talk about Fellaini and we're going to finish on Mourinho. But there's a couple of questions I need to ask you. Hang on. There's a couple of questions I need to ask.
This is about Mourinho. He came on against...
Yeah, I know, but I can't hear you when you try and talk over. So there's a specific thing I need to speak to about. I'm going to come at John. Because it wasn't just about the team selection. We're going to get into that when we talk about Fellaini in a second. But I can accept defeat at times. What I can't accept is the way I was more angry, I think, about what Jose Mourinho said in his press conference after the defeat than the actual defeat it was itself. Is Jose right to be lowering fan expectations like that? Is he right to be talking about his past triumphs in a press conference where he's just knocked us out of Europe? What do you think, John?
I think more and more you sort of observe Jose Mourinho's sort of behavioral patterns and sort of politics behind the way he operates his clubs is he likes to deflect attention away from sort of non-football related results. He probably wants to say these things for the sake of either trying to protect himself or his players. And that's what you see throughout his career. When you see players sort of talk about Jose Mourinho, they consistently mention him as this father figure that's, you know, willing to take a bullet for them and things of that nature. So you can see that Jose Mourinho is blatantly saying things of that nature for the sake of protecting his players, trying to deflect the attention away from the media. And I think it was like a day ago, maybe it was last night, I was reading somewhere where Romelu Lukaku came out in an interview. It might have been on ITV where he was like, Jose Mourinho's got a plan for us. We just need to keep looking forward. We have to challenge it for everything next season. So it kind of seems to me as if Jose Mourinho is sort of building for this fourth-year plan and just kind of moving forward already as is, which isn't a good look, especially when we knew and everybody sort of knew that Champions League quarterfinals was definitely some sort of a milestone, that stepping stone in terms of that transitional plane that we've been looking at. And for Jose Mourinho to be making comments like that, I think it was one of the worst comments to make after your club, Manchester United, has just been knocked off by a club like Sevilla. No disrespect to Sevilla, but it wasn't a Real Madrid, it wasn't a Bayern Munich. But to be knocked off in that manner and to make that kind of comment was very difficult as a fan. And while we sort of sit here and still continue to try and protect Jose Mourinho, for me, I don't know, but for me, it felt as if like this was strike one for me. I mean, as much as I always try to get behind the manager and things of that nature, to hear that comment really hurt, and to hear that comment as a fan just really felt disturbing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying strike one. A lot of people are saying that's final strike and he's got to go. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do think Strike won that the press conference. Dave, you touch on the press conference if you like, but John mentioned that Lukaku was talking about a plan. Didn't feel like we had much of a plan in the actual game itself against Sevilla, did it?
No, I think that was the most frustrating thing for me, that Sevilla is so beatable. And again, talking about the Atletico Madrid game, like they had an approach and it really worked. And that was after United had played them away and it already messed up playing that three-man midfield. I think it's interesting to talk about players and Marouane Fellaini and throwing him under the bus. Obviously, we'll talk about him in the next point, but Mourinho just got it completely wrong in that game. The midfield setup was ridiculously wrong. And how it all evolved and how United was so on the ball, was so poor on the ball, was all about that midfield. It was so disjoint. Yeah, it was a three-man midfield. Matic was holding. Fellaini and Lingard were pretty much playing next to Romelu Lukaku. The problem with United's build-up there, it was so easy for Sevilla. They literally just played two banks of four. Eva Banega and Zonzi picked them up deep, and Matic just had the ball. It was so frequent. Matic should have the ball, and there'd be no one to pass to ahead of him. I think the movement of the forwards was quite poor. With Alexis Sanchez, his movement was atrocious. And yeah, he should be coming into that area and picking up the ball and turning, but it was the wrong approach. If Mourinho had gone out and defended, United would have got a result. If United had parked the bus in that game, if they played exactly how they played against Liverpool, United would have got a result. If they'd sat deep in a 4-4-1-1, they would have got a result. They didn't. They were stuck between this half defending, half attacking, half trying to play possession football, where we're in the Champions League. Mourinho is one of the best tacticians in world football at sitting deep and counter-attacking. Why are we not doing that? I couldn't give a monkeys if we have 32% possession. I couldn't care less. That's how you would have beaten that Sevilla team. You draw them out. You don't give Eva Banega the opportunity to play through you. That was the big thing that Atletico Madrid did. They sat with two banks of four. Eva Banega couldn't play through them. It was so simple. They pressurised him with Antoine Griezmann. Alexis Sanchez could have done that job, but it was so broken from Manchester United, and it was so poor and so frustrating to watch them just play these terrible passes, not create any chances, not play with any intensity. It was just frustrating, and I think it comes down to the tactics and how the game was approached. And it was, the reason why we're out the Champions League is because we got beat two legs. Both of the legs, Sevilla were the better side. The fans were better, the team was better, and I think that's what you've got to congratulate Montella, because he's done a lot with a weaker side to this Man United team. This Man United team should have won this game. The impact of the subs, nothing happened. Playing Juan Mata eventually at right back was mental. The control that you usually get from a Manchester United Mourinho team wasn't there at all, and that was the most frustrating part. That the changes that Mourinho has made his career out of, like adding that attacking intensity. You see Jesse Lingard go to right back in the game against Palace. That was perfect. But he put Juan Mata there. And then we ended up with having like five attackers on, and then Chris Smalling went up front. You talk to me about that second goal. Everyone's like, oh, Ashley Young's getting beaten at the back post. That is complete, absolute horseshit. Near post flick on. You have three defenders on the pitch at that time. Of course, Sevilla are going to score from a corner. You've just taken off all your defenders. You've taken off all your man markers. You've not reorganised. What do you think is going to go on? It's absolute rubbish to single out in Marouane Fellaini, single out in Ashley Young. The performance, the team was shite, and that's what it was. Mourinho, the team, everyone, it was a terrible display, and we can't single out individuals, because collectively, as a group of players and coaching staff, they were to blame, and they lost the game.
But you can't.
Well, I'm gonna single out some individuals here.
You can't single out individuals for the simple fact that half of them didn't turn up. Yes, the manager picks them, but at the end of the day, you step onto that pitch, you've got to perform. Dave, Marouane Fellaini stood in that midfield, watched Matic doing all the work.
Marouane Fellaini had the second most shots on the pitch. He had chances.
He had the most shots on the pitch. He was crap, Dave. Don't pull a stat out to try.
No, I'm not pulling a stat out. You're looking at this, and I clearly said it.
Ashley Young is not a left back. He did a very good job against Mo Salah because he was told mark Mo Salah. But when he had to be a left back and play as a left back and understand that you're going to have maybe one guy pulling another guy and people coming out of position, he didn't know what to do. I'm not blaming Fellaini and Young, but it comes down to the fact that some of these players are not good enough anymore.
I think that's
it comes down to the point.
Analysis.
It comes down to the point when we keep thinking, oh, nah, these guys are all right. Oh, he's a nice lad. He'll do this. They're not good enough. Ashley Young.
Right, Adam, I've got some questions here for you about Fellaini. So I've seen Fellaini torn to pieces after the performance on Tuesday. I've seen him praised for his performance on Tuesday. I don't know what game they was watching. What do you think Marouane Fellaini's role in this side going forward could and should be?
He needs to leave in the summer. He hasn't signed his contract yet. He was offered a contract last year. Mate, he doesn't want to be here. He showed that with his performance the other day. Why are we picking a guy that doesn't want to be here? Why are we pandering to a player that isn't even good enough for us? It doesn't make sense to me. What is Mourinho doing with this guy? He doesn't want to be here. Is that not obvious? We're Manchester United and we're getting given the runaround by Marouane Fellaini.
John, do you think this is the third manager in a row that Marouane Fellaini's been made the scapegoat for? And do you think that's probably a sign that maybe he needs to be moved on?
I mean, I think it's a Fellaini sort of conundrum. I think there's a paradox here, and it sort of reminds me of a bit of the Tom Cleverley days, the Johnny Evans days back in David Moyes' era, or Louis van Gaal's era, or however you'd like to put it. They sort of felt like they were the scapegoats of the team's downfall and the team's decline. And while many sort of fans got on their backs for their poor performances or their poor decision making, I kind of vividly remember so many times Tom Cleverley and Johnny Evans getting booed when they were playing for David Moyes, because constantly they take the ball and just try to look. They look like Graham Souness. They just took the ball and they just drived it all the way back to David De Gea on almost every other possession, and it was so deflating. It was so negative. I think for Fellaini, it's a little bit of a more difficult situation because you can see the quality that he has when he's on his day. I mean, when Dave pulled out that stat about the most shots on target, you can see what Jose Mourinho's idea was. I mean, he is a great tactician. He knows what he wants to do with his players. He knows the qualities that they have. But with that being said, you cannot play in that shape and manner when your plan isn't going. When your plan A, when your plan B, when your plan C, A to Z, if it's not working, you have to trust in the quality of the players that is on the pitch. And like Adam mentioned, I kind of agree with him in a sense, because when we were on that pitch, when Matic was getting overrun in that midfield, Fellaini was nowhere to be seen. And I don't care if his job was a target man. I don't care if his job was the man up front. I don't care. He needs to come and help. He needs to come and sort of look to link up the play. There was no transition. And if you're going to constantly do that, we need Fellaini. We need players on the bench that's going to make a positive impact. And Marouane Fellaini has been here for years now, and he's been under 3 separate managers, and he's been loved by all 3 managers. He was signed by the first, loved by the second, and continues to be loved by the third. So there has to be something there. There has to be the quality. And he's a good lad. He's a nice guy. He's got his qualities on his day, but we can't rely on qualities on his day. We have to rely on quality overall as a footballer. And you can see quality from players that are willing to sort of put in shifts and willing to exert good levels of football, like Juan Mata on his day. You know, he's got that quality. You can always rely on him to put a decent performances. And I'm not trying to make comparisons. I'm not trying to make scapegoats. But at the end of the day, Marouane Fellaini isn't the player that we need to sort of move forward. And I think moving forward, the progression is sort of the end goal for all of us here, and that isn't the progression.
It does come down to the manager as well. Let's be honest. Look, we're moaning about Fellaini being in the midfield. We're moaning about certain things. But Fellaini is a good target man. As we saw against Liverpool, lumped the ball up to him. He was put on there, I think it was their right back, and he won a lot of the ball, and he helped us keep the ball up the pitch. He's good when he's a target man. He's good when he's just off the striker. He's not a midfielder. He cannot string 2-3 passes together. He doesn't breed confidence throughout the team when he's on the ball. But let me get off Marouane Fellaini because it's not his fault. It's Jose Mourinho's fault. He sets the tone. And I think he set the tone with his team selection. McTominay in great form on the bench. Pogba back. I don't care, whatever. I know he came off the bench and he wasn't great anyway. But if he starts the game, he's better than that. Like, there's so many different things. If you're not even starting Pogba, start McTominay. It was poor. I thought we got our tactics wrong. We didn't go for it. We played like we needed a 0-0 draw. That's how we played. Huh?
Dave, is there a role for Fellaini in this team going forward? And with all the sort of players that we've got, Adam's connection's gone again, everybody, so sorry for that. He's a little bit out of sync. With the players that we've got, like Sanchez and Lingard and Juan Mata, can you play those players and Fellaini in the same team, or do you think that you have to choose one way or another?
I just don't think it matters whether you play Fellaini, you play Scott McTominay, you play whoever. That approach was shite. That's it. That's the problem. Like, yeah, you're saying Fellaini should be dropping back. Fellaini's job was to man-mark Steven Nzonzi. Lingard was to man-mark Eva Banega. That approach was wrong. We should have played zonal. That's the problem. Like, we can't go, it's just every time United lose, Ashley Young's rubbish, Fellaini's rubbish. It's boring. It's reductionist. It's absolute rubbish analysis.
But it's true.
It's not. It's not true. It's the approach. It's the approach of the game.
That's the problem. Do you not see that?
Yeah, but at the same time,
Yes,
you're saying that it's just his fault, and you're not looking at anything else. For example, I'd say Nemanja Matic was poor. Nemanja Matic had a very, very poor game at defensive midfield. He struggled against their attacking midfielder. He had the most passes in Man United. He didn't join the attack together, and that's the problem. And that is the problem, that you can't single out one player for being a scapegoat when collectively, as I said before, it's a collectively poor performance. And it just gets like the same thing over and over again. Man United lose, Fellaini's rubbish. Man United lose, Fellaini's rubbish. Fellaini played well in the big game. Oh, he's all right, isn't he? And then we forget again. And then as soon as United lose, instead of actually looking at who was good, who was bad, it's just like Fellaini, Ashley Young. It's too easy. It's too simple.
Why
is it not because the fans that have a point? If there's a couple of players that are constantly being singled out for being inconsistent, they might pull it out in one big game because the tactics have set up for them to achieve something in that one big game. But that doesn't excuse the 6, 7, 8 games that they have where they do absolutely nothing and they're detrimental to the team.
You're making stuff up again. Like Ash Young, for example, has been one of our best attacking players. Like
No,
he has
Dave,
been
he's
one of
not.
our best
He really
attacking
hasn't.
players going forward. See, this is
Dave,
your
he's not,
agenda against Ashley Young is so bad. You need
No,
to
I've got an agenda that I want Manchester
You've got a
United to be the
massive
best that
agenda.
they can be,
You've
and
got
they're
a
not with
massive
Ashley
agenda
Young.
against him. And it's
He's
taken
not a
away
better
from his
defender,
skills as an
and he's
outlet. That's what it is.
unproductive in attack.
I'm sure I remember sitting here and saying Jose Mourinho has to take the blame, but the selection and these players are part of the problem. We've still got Ashley Young, Fellaini. We've
Yeah,
still
but if you, for example, right? Okay, change this up.
Picking the place out. They're not good enough.
Dave, would you take Ashley Young over Maldini at his peak?
I'm not saying that, Howson.
No, but you are, because you're saying it's systematic.
You're trying to put words in my mouth and
You
say,
can be.
oh,
No, I'm not. I'm asking you a question. You can be
I'm saying-
systematic, and you can
This
improve
season,
within the
Ashley
system.
Young has
We
been our
can
best
improve on
left
Ashley Young
back. We can't
with
improve.
players
The
at the
transfer
club.
window is closed. We can't do anything. We have to work with the individuals we have, and that's what
We
we've got
can
to
just
do.
select one of the individuals that's
For
not being getting
example, right,
selected.
If you play Marouane Fellaini as a number 10 yesterday, or whenever it was on Tuesday, and you played Scott McTominay in the Nemanja Matic deep in midfield,
we
that would have worked.
We played
That
him in
would work.
midfield and he was shit.
That would have worked. Because the setup was wrong. That's what I'm saying. The setup was wrong.
So is he a better number 10 than Mata? Is he a better number 10 than Sanchez?
For example, if you played Fellaini as a number 10 and you'd have put him behind Eva Banega, you could have gone long all day long and you would have got ball in that final third. That was our game plan last season in the Europa League in the sort of
We had an
quarterfinal,
excellent target
semi-final.
man against
We won
Liverpool.
the-
Absolutely bullied the Liverpool defence.
correct. But
We
what
didn't
I'm
need
saying
to
with-
use Fellaini. We've got a
What I'm
better footballer you can use as a target man
What I'm
in
saying
Lukaku.
there is that if you use those assets, how you should have used those assets, we would be talking. It's a different story, but it's the application of what they're doing on the pitch that's a problem. I don't think that it's the player, and it's not playing to his strengths. That's what happened. You're not playing to Man United's strengths by playing the way we play.
To Man United's strengths is putting Ashley Young and Fellaini out of the first 11. That's part of it.
Who's
Also,
playing then?
All right,
This
lads,
is the point, Dave.
right, shut up.
This is
We
the
can
point,
we can
Dave.
dissect
Those
the Sevilla
people-
disaster as much as we
Don't do
want,
it.
can't we?
Oi,
Don't
Jose
do it,
Mourinho
don't
got his
shut.
selection wrong.
Lads, shut up.
Jose Mourinho got
Lads.
his selection wrong. But he played, you keep saying, I play him to his strengths. He played him in a midfield too.
Adam.
And he crap. You can only judge him on where he plays.
Adam.
Three is what we've been saying for the entire time we've been talking. I said we should be playing a midfield too.
He's not chatting.
Lads,
shit.
shut the fuck up. Thank you. Right, we're going to cut to an ad break. Here we go. And now we're back. We're going to talk about the starting 11s. Dave, you've just overtaken John. You are now 5 points ahead of him. Adam is still way out ahead in front. Let's talk about the starting 11s. John, I'm going to come to you first. Talk to me about the starting 11 that you want to see for Brighton. I had to stop that there. We're talking about Brighton here. I was trying to talk about Brighton, and it ended up into a massive dissection about what happened at Sevilla, and we could do that all day long, couldn't we? So let's talk about Brighton while John's going to whip his whiteboard out and tell us the starting 11 that he wants this weekend.
All right, guys, fantastic. Y'all lucky I didn't jump into that, but so I didn't get to submit my shit yesterday, so here we go. I just kind of half-assed it. You got David De Gea in goal. I don't know if you guys can see the faces here, but I got David De Gea in goal. One with a back two of Eric Bailly, Lindelof, and I'm just gonna say all the 11, and we'll just talk about it for a second. Valencia left back, Luke Shaw right back, midfield three of Matic, McTominay, and Pogba. Front three of Martial, Lukaku, and Juan Mata. I don't know if the glare is kind of there because you guys kind of can't see it, but I think one of the key figures.
Yes.
One of the key figures, the key issues here
Oh, two-sided
that we
whiteboard.
saw during the game against Sevilla was the inefficiencies of playing Matic sort of alone, and I think that was one of the reasons why Jose Mourinho continuously opted to play in like this 4-2-3-1 formation of keeping Pogba sort of more closer to Matic, because whenever we sort of started off the ball, we looked deflated because we had no idea what to do with it when we came out of the back. So, for instance, many of the times that what we saw was the ball would end up somehow under Ashley Young's feet, and Ashley Young, obviously being a right-footed left back, would sort of turn, shift his body forward and look for the easier passing option, the safer option, and it would go to Chris Smalling. And then the ball would go to Eric Bailly, because obviously that's the safer choice. And the ball would go to Antonio Valencia. Now, Matic would sort of look for the pass, not get it, and he'd sort of have to jog right across the pitch here. And he wouldn't get it from Antonio Valencia either. And where did the ball go? It went off the freaking pitch, and it went straight into the middle of the park, where he sort of thumped it, looking for a long ball for Fellaini. And that was sort of a repetitive pattern. And I think somebody like Lindelof is crucial in this team, and I think that was the reason why we signed him. And I think this is sort of the season. This is sort of the time and period where we really need Victor Lindelof. I'm not sitting here and saying I expect Lindelof to turn up and sort of show his true qualities, but this is where we need him. We need the combination between Lindelof and Bailly to really flourish towards the end of the season, especially if we have a chance to end with a trophy. We need to work our way around. Not forcing Alexis Sanchez into this 11. We can't usher out other players that were playing in fantastic form for the sake of just bringing in somebody that was signed for an X amount of fee or signed for the X amount of agenda or whatever the case may be, because this is the 11 that needs to go forward. And I think Jose Mourinho is sort of going to kind of realize a little bit of that, and I think this is what he's going to go for. I don't know about the selection, but he'll definitely go for a shape like this.
Right then. Thanks for the whiteboard. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the little explanation about the back four passing as well. That was good. Dave, do you want to give me your starting 11, please, Arcade?
I think Mourinho is going to go back to the 4-2-3-1. I think that game probably proved to himself, this formation doesn't work. Obviously, the application of it was completely wrong. But in his own head, it's going to be like, let's go back to the 4-2-3-1. That's what we're going to play. I think, you look at the first games in the season against weaker sides, Matic and Pogba deep in a pivot work perfectly well. It's against the bigger teams where potentially you can't play Pogba so deep because of his, tactical indiscipline, should we say. So I think in terms of, David De Gea in goal, of course, two fullbacks, Valencia, and of course Ashley Young. Two centre-halves, I want to see Lindelof come in, just because I want to see Bailly Lindelof get a few games together. Bailly has just been so good since he's come back. That tackle that he made against Sevilla when they had that break before the first goal was unbelievable. What a one-on-one challenge, and he was brilliant against Liverpool, was good against Sevilla, so yeah, he's got to be in there. But I want to see how they develop as a pairing, and they're both good ball players. I think that's something that Eric Bailly's a bit underrated with, is the balls at his feet. So I'd like to see that, and like John's saying, the build-up with one defensive midfielder against Sevilla was completely wrong, and we should have had two. And that's why, maybe Mourinho will go back here. In terms of the three behind Lukaku really, really cares about Manchester United. And I don't know if that's, something that fans don't see that go to the games, but he's always jeering up the crowd. He's always getting involved. He's always working hard. And by far, he was United's best player. He was the only one that really put a shift in. The goal he scored was fantastic. His scissor kick, we're taking that away from him because United lost the game, but he was brilliant. And the more Lukaku plays for United under Mourinho, the more he's going to develop. He's already developing parts of his game that I never saw at Everton. Everton, he was quite lackadaisical when he wasn't, when the ball wasn't at his feet. At United, he's working so hard. So the guy, I absolutely love Lukaku. He's everything I wanted in a Man United number 9. Morata, Lacazette, absolute rubbish when you got Romelu Lukaku. Here, there's three behind, of course, Lukaku. I think that Liverpool, what we saw really well was a great blend of Juan Mata's ability to play, make and drift from the right. Alexis Sanchez is number 10 doing defensive work. And, of course, Rashford. Rashford's been our best player the last 2 games. We needed to give Rashford the ball more. And that, honestly was one of the big problems. Instead of United looking for those balls out the back into, the long balls, it should have been every single time getting the ball to Marcus Rashford, and allowing him to run. So he's going to be in there, with Sanchez. Sanchez, we need to see some more form from him. He's not been great. I don't like him from the left-hand side, to be quite honest. His movement off the ball is not good enough. It doesn't look like the United players know what he wants. There's a few times against Sevilla where he'd look to sort of come short. They play the balls over his head. He'd half look to come short, then not go, and they play to his feet. So I think maybe at number 10, where he can move freely around the pitch, as sort of a striker in a way, like in a little bit of a 4-4-2, you're going to get the best out of Alexis Sanchez. He played his best football for Arsenal as a striker. United at the moment, it doesn't look like he's, it looks like there's better options. Marcus Rashford on that right-hand side. So I'd like to see Rashford there and Sanchez through the middle, and then maybe we'll, score some goals and have a bit of fun. I think that's the big thing. for the reaction here after that game, United need to just absolutely dismantle Brighton and Hove Albion, and that's what they should do. They have the ability there. Matic, Pogba, deep in midfield is going to be a big for this game.
It would be beautiful to see some sort of reaction from it, wouldn't it? Adam, do you want to give us your starting 11, please, pal?
I've gone with Romero, Valencia, Bay, Lindelof, and Luke Shaw. Matic, McTominay, Pogba in the midfield. If that was a midfield three on the middle of the weekend, I don't even know what was going on. Rashford, Mata on the right, Lukaku through the middle, Martial on the left. Drop Sanchez. I don't think he's performed at all. He needs to be held to the standards of every other player in this team. And I would take him out of the team. It'd be nice if we could go 2-3-0 up, introduce him, he gets a goal, builds his confidence, because that's the kind of thing he needs at the moment. Nothing's coming off for him. He's trying to force things. He's trying to make things happen. And he's just looking frustrated out there. I would take him out of the team. I want to see Martial in the team. I did originally have Rashford in my team, but I think with him starting the game, did he start? Yeah, he started the game. He played in a weird position, and I know he was trying to make things happen. Didn't have the best games, but I'm not dropping him. I'm just bringing Mata in because I think Mata needs to start this game. I think he makes things happen for us. And it's like that conundrum, like Mata and Lingard are one of two players that make us tick a lot of the times in attack. But they're always the players that, even me, I leave them out of my 11. But we need to start getting them in there. They bring us balance, and they bring us, like, Sanchez is great and all, but when he's trying to make things happen on his own, it's just not great to watch because it's not working for him at the moment. He needs to be playing more natural, stop thinking less and just playing off the cuff. Take him off the bench, man.
Juan Mata's going to be one of those players that when he eventually does leave United, people are going to go, he was actually quality, wasn't he? Because he's not really won a title with us. He's not really had, apart from Wanfield, like any games that he's totally bossed. I think there's a massive underappreciation of what Juan Mata offers. He's an absolutely wonderful, lovely footballer. Right, let's talk about Brighton then. Mark, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Oh, actually, before I do that, I've got some comments. Slim Jesus says, #agenda. Yeah, there is an agenda. I just want to see United doing better. Rahil says, John, get the popcorn. That was obviously when these two was just going bananas and we couldn't hear a damn thing. That's the problem. When you start shouting over each other, Matt, your connection's that weak at the minute that all we can see is you going nuts, but we can't hear you. And it just
Matt, you need to sort out your Tesco internet, mate.
Danish says, Adam is ruining the show. Brain? Danish is going for you big time. Simo says, Howson, going Iraq. Now, I went there once, wouldn't recommend it as a tourist destination. And Colin says, guys, calm down. This will not help us in any way. Obviously, going back a couple of points on that one. Right, so let's talk about the opposition then. Adam, I'm going to come to you first. Talk to us about Brighton.
I like Knockout, but is he suspended for this one? Sorry, should have done my research. I like Knockout, though. Glenn Murray's going to be the man that's going to be there. I don't know how they're going to play a strong team. I haven't watched them in the FA Cup, and I haven't seen how they've approached it. But I do know Chris Hughton's a very good coach. He'll keep them up this season. And with the resources that they've got, that'd be surprising. I think I predicted them to go down. So, I think Brighton are doing very, very well this season. I think, are they going to be going all out for this? Probably not. But you're one step away from Wembley. You're at Old Trafford. They know that the fans are going to be a bit not sure. The players are going to be feeling it a little bit, probably have a hangover from midweek. So they're going to try and play on any of that uncertainty that we do have. And the defence will have to be at it, because if Knockout is available, sorry, I don't even know, then you can get Glenn Murray in. And they've also got a decent defence as well.
Do what Matt just said on screen.
We don't these lot.
Right, John, do you want to talk to us about Brighton a little bit, please, mate?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of their 4-1 win against Swansea. It was a few games back. That was before they took the victory against Arsenal. I mean, like Adam said, Chris Hughton's been fantastic so far, and they are definitely doing well. But They looked very fluid, but many a times I saw a lot of spaces that we could have sort of exposed if you were a higher quality team. And I think that red card against when they conceded that red card against Everton, and I think Adam Knockaert is suspended. I think so. I don't think he'll be getting a start here. But I think this is a team that's playing very well, and they'll definitely bring a game to Old Trafford. With the likes of Glenn Murray, doing pretty well up top. But I think we have the qualities. I think we have what it takes to really take this victory. And it's honestly, it's a must-win situation at this point. I don't care if you think just the FA Cup is progress or not. I think for Jose Mourinho and for the players, this is progress, and this is sort of the last stand before the end of the season. Obviously, alongside the Premier League sort of results and ending as high as possible in the table. But with that being said, I think FA Cup is the sort of the crown jewel that we need to win now, and I think Jose Mourinho is going to go all in. I think these players are going to fight for their lives, or they have to. I mean, with that crowd at Old Trafford, they better whip out a good performance, because I felt so bad for the Old Trafford faithful that night. So it's going to be a decent game. I think it's got to be a convincing win, though.
David, we are one game from Wembley, my mate. What are Brighton going to offer to stop us?
Depends how they set up. I thought they were really good when they came in the league to Man United. They played a 4-5-1 in midfield. Pascal Gross, instead of playing as a number 10, moved into midfield, and they really restricted United. I think they were the first team that caused United a problem in terms of breaking them down. Huddersfield Town, similar approach, beat United a few weeks later, or maybe before, I don't know. But Pascal Gross is still having a really good season in terms of creating chances and grabbing assists. He's going to be dangerous when he's drifting from a central area out wide. Set pieces are going to be dangerous as well, because he's got a really good delivery, and it is about Glenn Murray and the guys. But this is a beatable side. If we move them around, as we should do with Pogba deep in midfield, we won't have a problem. So I don't think there's enough to worry me with this Brighton team, but there wasn't enough for Sevilla to worry me, really. So, if we give Pascal Gross as much space as we gave Eva Banega over 2 legs, you never know what might happen.
Dave.
Am I right in thinking that this
I was trying to end on a high, Dave, then. I was like, do you know what? It's FA Cup, scarlet ribbons, she wore, all that caper. And you're just talking Pascal Gross is going to be moonwalking around that pitch, denying me another chance to go to Wembley. Dave, you've got one opportunity to redeem yourself now. Give me a positive score prediction.
I was just thinking about the £1,000 that I spent to watch 2 against Sevilla, and it hit me.
The amount you spent to go Sevilla goes up like Sanchez's wage every time I talk to you.
Oh yeah, but then I forget that I went like, oh shit, there was another few beers there, a few beers here. Oh well, I think United are going to win.
Score prediction.
4-0. 4-0 FC's coming
Love
back.
it. Thank you. John, give me a deluded score prediction.
Nah, I'm going to go for a more conservative one this time. No jokes tonight.
I didn't ask
2-0.
for that, though. Adam, give me a score prediction that's going to get you clipped up out of context on Twitter this weekend.
It's going to be settled on a night, innit? No replays. It's going to extra time. And we'll win it in extra time.
I'm going to say 4-0 FC is coming back. Manchester United are going to Wembley, and we are going to have a massive reaction from the players after that performance midweek. Right, thank you to these guys for joining us. Thanks to you for coming, watching, and putting up with that chaos in the middle. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. Get your comments on the team predictions, all that sort of stuff, and recommendations for a new Wi-Fi for Adam. Thank you. See you later.